A classical political strategy is to take advantage of certain situations, circumstances of great tensions, to approve other laws that under normal conditions would generate turmoil, unrest, and even a strong rejection. This is happening right now. The world's attention is focused on what is happening in Ukraine. It may be that it is the beginning of a third world war. It is said that the country will be invaded, razed to the ground, the capital Kiev sacked. The whole world is looking at Ukraine, and in the meantime, the culture of death is taking steps towards its total dictatorship. In the European Union, the rule is that every 6 months, the ruler of one of the member countries holds the presidency. It is a rotating presidency. Since January 1st, this position has been held by French President Macron. In his inaugural speech while taking office as president, Macron said that he wants to turn abortion into a right, and that he wants it to be considered as one of the essential elements of what he called European values. Abortion as a right, what does it mean? It means that nobody can dissent. Nobody can criticize it. Nobody can make conscientious objection. How are you going to deal with the right? A conscientious objection prevented for people, for example, health personnel, but also for institutions, Catholic hospitals. Those who oppose a right will be treated as criminals. I don't know if with the same harshness with which terrorists are treated, but of course they will be treated as criminals. In Spain, for example, it is no longer possible to pray in front of an abortion clinic, at least in a group, because it is forbidden by law. We'll see how it is applied, but there is already a law that forbids it. The culture of death is taking steps inexorably and places the church, not only the church, but certainly the church, in an increasingly difficult situation. Or she adapts or will end up being considered an unstable element or producer of instability, an element or an institution contrary to human rights, with all the consequences, both for the institution that will lose its legal formation and for people who refuse to accept not only abortion, but it and all its courtship, euthanasia, or the rights, the alleged rights of the LGBT community. There is a theory called the boiled frog theory. According to this theory, you put the frog in a bowl or in a pot of boiling water and the frog jumps immediately. But if you put it in a pot in the pan with cold water and you go very slowly making the water warm, the frog gets used to it and ends up staying cooked to stay boiled. Well, this is what they have been doing with society in general in the whole area of the culture of death. And now the addition of LGBT laws, this is what they have been doing, and there is already a majority of society that has accepted all this as something normal. What until recently, and I think many of my age have known, was a crime. Abortion as a crime was punished, became something, well, tolerated, to become, that's what they want, a right to which no one can protest, no one can oppose. Little by little, the frog has become accustomed to the water that was being heated. Society has become numb. It's been accepting things that before it would have absolutely rejected, and this is also happening within the church. The majority of Catholics, the few practicing Catholics that are left, are older. They don't want to have problems. They don't want complications. They are more and more in that process of the boiled frog, becoming numb people who do not care about anything as long as they are allowed to do their routines. And even if they are not allowed with excuse of the COVID, they also adapt themselves. A proof of this is what is happening in the church in Germany. They do things that, instead of generating a universal rejection by the hierarchy and the faithful, only awakens in some daring a criticism. The vast majority is increasingly accepting their thesis, supported even by a part of the hierarchy or the media. A few days ago, in response to Macron's statements, the brilliant, excellent secretary of the Spanish Episcopal Conference said that the Church had been founded by Jesus Christ as the salt of the earth and not as the sugar of the world. He's right. Salt of the earth, said the Lord, light of the world, yeast in the dough, and not sugar for the coffee. But we have to prepare people for that, and we have to be willing to pay the price. Are we preparing the few remaining practicing Catholics to be the salt of the earth? To pay the price of being marginalized because we do not want to give in? Or, on the contrary, is the Church slowly transforming herself into one more element of the system that serves to numb the consciences of the citizens, that is to say, so that the frog stays quietly in the pot while it boils? There is very little time left. The frog has very little chance of jumping out of the pot and saving itself because it's almost completely asleep. We are called to be the salt of the earth and not the sugar in the coffee. It is a brilliant comparison, but are we really preparing ourselves? Are we being taught what it means? Are we willing to pay the price of what it means to be faithful to Jesus Christ rather than becoming a piece of the system, which on the other hand will end with us if we accommodate ourselves to what the world asks of us? Let us ask the Lord to help us for our own good and for the mission we have to do with others. Until next week, God willing.